The following is a special presentation of Keeping It 100. Watch future episodes exclusively on Soul of the South, available over the air on 30.4, or contact your local cable provider.
Good day, and welcome to Keepin It 100. I'm Michael Victorian, your host, and president of the 100 Black Men of Metro Baton Rouge. Today our topic is youth athletics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In today's society, athletics have become a very important part of our youth's rearing. Athletics itself has become a very important piece of the lives of Americans nationwide. Now, whether it's cheering for the Saints, LSU, Southern University, or your local youth team, we all find ourselves in some way involved in athletics. Now, parents are increasingly concerned with the lack of athletic opportunities beyond high school, the time commitment required of athletes, and the safety of youth sports. Now, many people believe participating in youth builds character and work ethic, while some question the academics and safety of youth athletes. Now, here to keep it 100 about youth athletics, let's welcome Charles Chuck Trim, the president of the Baton Rouge Raptors, a local youth sports organization, Dr. Joyce Turner Keller, CEO of Aspirations Holistic Tutorial Services. Now, let's get into it. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
The first question I'd like to put to you two is where is the balance? Where do we find the balance between academics and sports? And Doctor, if you could start
There
off.
is no balance. Actually, there is no balance, and I'm the mother of three.
Okay.
And I had two sons who actually played basketball, football, and ran track. One played basketball, ran track, and was in the band. So it's extremely difficult, and especially when you're a single parent. It can be strenuous not only on you, but on the children as well. Okay. And just trying to measure up and actually be able to reach that level that you're expected to reach, it is very demanding. There is no balance.
Okay, thank you very much. Coach?
Well, in my opinion, it depends on that type of organization that you put your child in. Myself, I focus more on education than a kid playing sport. So what I teach my kids, homework first. When you come home from school, the first thing you should do, I tell them, put their pants on, uniform pants on, and you get it to your books. No television, no anything. We normally don't start practice till about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I figure most kids get home about 2:30, 3 o'clock. So that gives them approximately 3 hours to do a little homework in there. And when they come from practice, we usually practice for about an hour. So I say about 7:30, we're done with practice. So by the time you get home, take a bath, you still have a little time frame in there where a kid can do last minute studying and cram in whatever he didn't get within that 3 hours prior to coming to practice. So I think it depends on the child. If a parent sees where their child is slipping in that area, then maybe send him to practice less a week. But if he's excelling, then bring him out there and let him practice. So the balance comes between the coach and the parent. So if you have good communication right there, I think you can come up with a good balance.
Okay. Now, let me share something with you because my son, who is an adult now, played for one of the youth sports teams, the Baton Rouge Rams, as a matter of fact. One of the first young football teams in the African-American community here in the Breck League. And it was quite time-consuming on my part.
It is.
Okay, it was, I had to sit a lot on the side, okay, because, you know, at 8 years old, they don't drive, right? They don't drive, and my Saturdays were taken too. So what type of commitments should we expect from parents? And Coach, I'd like you to just give me that, then I want to come back to Dr. Keller.
In my opinion, I think you should, if you're going to involve your child in something, be truly committed to it. I mean, football is time-consuming. I mean, if you want your child to excel, it's just like with anything in life. If you want to get the best out of it, you have to put the best of it in it. So I think the type of commitment that parents should make is go forth, be there every day. If you expect your child to play come Saturday morning, in my opinion, then have your child there as much as you can. Don't expect your child to come to practice one day a week and think that on Saturdays I'm going to put them out there on the football field. I mean, that's just the way I coach. I believe in fairness to my organization. If this parent bring her child 3, 4, 5 days a week, then I expect every parent, unless it's dealing with schoolwork and he has a project at school or he's falling behind, he has F's, then I don't expect them to be at every practice as long as they let me know in advance.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Keller, I'd like to switch that question a little bit for you, and I'd like you to expound on it. Okay. Obviously, there is a great commitment from parents in athletics. Do you see that our parents, have the same commitment toward academics?
No. No. Because ironically enough, a lot of parents look at the formative years of their children as a paycheck. And I'm just putting it out there and telling it like it is. Because they feel like if I can develop my child to become the greatest, the next Michael Jackson or the next Michael Vick or the next Drew Brees, next Shaquille O'Neal, that's what they're going to focus on. Because, and not that it's a bad thing to get rich,
right?
But it's worse to get rich and not be able to manage your own money. So intellectually, I think that we need to put more academics into it, but are parents doing it? Absolutely not. Some are, not every parent. So we don't want to make a blanket statement, right, because there are some parents who do make the commitment to do both. I was one of those parents that tried to do both. However, I have to tell you, I think I fell short. I think I fell short. First of all, I was at every basketball game, but because of other commitments, I was not at every PTA meeting. So you have to try to, where do we do it? I needed to be at that PTA meeting because I needed to know what my child needed to, how they needed to excel at. Right. And there were times that I did not make every meeting. So no, I mean, just looking at myself, I feel that I fell short.
Okay, thank you very much for that honest opinion. We're going to get right back. We're going to take a break. To our viewing audience, we're going to take a quick break. Please come right back to us. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to our show. We're going to continue our discussion with Chuck Trim, the president of the Baton Rouge Raptors, and Dr. Joyce Turner Keller, CEO of Aspirations Holistic Tutorial Service. The next question I'd like to pose to both of you is, how should parents discuss the statistics regarding the successful athletes without discouraging youth athletics? And what I mean is, it's probably easier for a kid, the odds are, a kid has a better chance of being a doctor than being an NFL quarterback. So, but how do you continue to young people to encourage them and to keep, you don't want to step on anybody's dreams of young people in athletics. Coach, I'd like to start off with you.
Well, in my opinion, you always teach them to put God first, right, and let God answer all of their prayers for the future. Right. And you're so right about a kid has a better opportunity of being a neurosurgeon. But if you teach them at a young age to whatever they do to put their hearts in it and whatever they believe in it, achieve it, I think they'll be just fine. I mean, it's hard. I've been coaching for 18 years. Okay. And my goal when I first started coaching was if I can take one kid off the streets, teach him to be a better person on and off the field, educate him in school and athletics, then his dreams will be answered.
It's very admirable, very admirable. Doctor?
Well, as the minister, I believe that prayer does come first, but we have to look at the socioeconomics that we are facing with our children. And I think the reality is that we have to make sure our kids understand that it's okay to have a dream, but it takes hard work to make that a reality. Right. We also have to make sure that our children are diversified enough intellectually to be able to succeed at something else other than athletics. And that way you build that cushion that they have to fall on. My son, my youngest son, was the state of Louisiana's MVP in basketball in 1993. He hoped to become the next the next Michael Jordan. Ironically, some life choices deterred that. Now he's a rancher. He's a farmer. And very successful at it, I might say. So I think that without throwing cold water on the visions of our children, what we can do is help plant other seeds so that when they don't succeed at one thing, they can excel at another.
I like that. I like that. I like that very much. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Even in the NFL right now, the key is safety. Okay? So how do we take that, if they're doing it in the NFL, how do we take that down to our in youth athletics, not just football, but in youth athletics? And what sort of conditioning is suitable for still developing bodies to help them prepare for the rigors of even a youth football season?
It's tough. It's real tough to teach a child at a young age to prepare them for what they're going to face further on in life. I think as a young coach, I think in some kind of way, the first thing we should realize is it's not our dreams. It's those kids' dreams and their future that we're looking to. So we need to teach kids fundamentals. It's not whether a kid win or lose at a young age, because they're going to lose a lot in life. But you have to teach a kid to be a winner, and you have to teach a child to be a loser at a young age. So if we still in them the correct way of doing things, as far as football is a contact sport, I can't promise every parent that their child's going to come home healthy every day. But I can promise you this: I'm going to do the best I can to teach your child so he will come home to you safe and healthy the same way you brought him to me. So I teach a kid the exact way to tackle. I teach him the correct way of blocking. I teach the kid next to him so he would know if you make one mistake, you can't just hurt yourself, you'll hurt the person next to you. So as coaches, we have to go back to fundamentals with these kids, teaching them at a young age so when they become older, they'll know from the beginning, the first stage, I was taught this is the way I'm going to do it, this is what I believe is the correct way of doing it, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Keller, if you could expound on the safety issue in athletics, especially among our young people, I'd appreciate it.
Then it means I have to deal with the ugly side.
All right.
In order to deal with that ugly side, the first thing we have to look at, who are the parents? There are some parents who are extremely aggressive and they want their child to be the very best on the field. And that child may not be as conscious of the health issues of another child. I may teach my children mentally to respect the other child next to him or her, but another parent, based on that attitude, may teach their child to go out and win at all costs. That puts my child or the next person's child at risk.
Correct.
So I think in order for us to address safety, we need to have more parents involved, work hand in hand with our coaches, and have a sense of purpose and know that this is fun for the children. But it becomes so competitive that it becomes violent. And we have some parents who want to come onto the field, don't you hit my child. But the other thing is your child just knocked another kid down. So we need to, in order to address the safety issue, I think we need to deal with more culturally competent, we need to have a culturally competent situation. We need to sit down and have the talk. And we talk about everything else, but we need to get parents to the table, bring them onto the field, and let us collectively, have the lines drawn in the sand. And I think that way, it would be better if we were, where one child may not be as aggressive on the field as he normally would have been.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Now, I want to, Coach, if you could take just a quick second. Sports-related injuries are on the rise among young people, okay? How worried should parents be about concussions?
Very. Concussions are very serious. And as a youth coach, I haven't properly been trained, and I think it should be some kind of training if we're going to be involved in coaching a child, I think it should be some kind of training for youth coaches, high school coaches, so we can be more familiar with concussion. Because concussion at a young age is very serious, so parents should take that real serious.
Okay, I want to come back to that. We're going to take another break. Again, I'm Michael Victorian. We're keeping it 100, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome back. Now, Coach, you mentioned something in our last segment, and it was that in terms of the training of coaches, who is responsible for that? I know we have football in YMCA, we have football in the Breck League. Now, you're in a private league, as I understand, if you could.
Yeah, I'm in a private league that was started by me and a group of coaches. It's called the Greater Baton Rouge Youth Area Football League. This is our first year in existence. So we're just rolling, getting things rolling, and our board of commission is formed by every coach from each team in our league. We have 7 teams right now, and we're trying to build. So basically, this is our first year. So we're just putting things together, finding out how can we make our league more competitive, more parent-oriented, better for the kids, where people would say, you know, this is an organization ran diligently. I would like for my child to be in this league. So it's just something that we're focusing on the future of the kids.
Okay, and would one of those be looking at having your coaches trained in terms of certain water breaks for the kids? What do you do if you suspect a concussion?
Exactly. And you know, that's a good thing. This week we was actually playing a game. We had a football game Saturday, and one of our kids fell down with an asthma attack. You know, it was a good thing. One of the coaches in my organization has a child that had asthma, so he was able to get out there on the field in a timely manner to deal with this child, to bring him back to safety and calm him down, because the kid, he laid out on the field and he's saying he couldn't breathe. So, but one thing I respect the parent, she was able to have his inhaler at the game. So we was able to get that accomplished. We got EMS on the scene. So I think knowledge of concussions, other safety issue, a child breaks his leg, a child hurts his back, knowledge of knowing the injuries from coaches save a child from a lifelong history of pain.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Keller, if you could share with us in terms of you see all these injuries in sports at all levels.
Right.
We certainly don't want to see them with our youth. In terms of the concussion and health issues, could you share with us? You've raised 3 boys.
2 boys and a daughter.
2 boys and a daughter, and I'm
Yes.
sure they were all great athletes, right?
Not my daughter.
Okay.
Actually, I found myself going to the emergency room quite often. For one thing, I had to make sure that my child was safe. Even after a game, you know, I was afraid to let him go to sleep. And I found myself being overly involved. I mean, I would just, he's got to go to the emergency room. I want to make sure he doesn't have a concussion. It can be time consuming, but it was necessary. I think that if more parents would attend the games and not just drop their kids off, it would make such a difference. If you just stayed, and not only that, if you shared the right information, don't be ashamed to say your child is ADHD. Don't be ashamed to bring the child's meds out there. Don't be ashamed to share necessary information with the people who are taking care of your children and giving you a break, and that's what we call it, because a lot of times our coaches end up being babysitters. I think that if we would be really involved and be open about what's going on with our children, we would have a better working relationship, and our kids would be a lot safer.
Right.
Could be a lot safer.
Could you extend that just one, because you brought up a good point of parents not dropping the kids off to the games.
Right.
And I found from personal experience, you have more parents that will come to the game that will come to that child's practice, and I'm talking young kids. What's your opinion on parents dropping kids off just to practice? Should they stay there because they're practicing, they're scrimmaging, they're exercising in the heat? I would think these young people would start practicing in the heat of August. Could you just share that with us?
I think a parent should stay. I think a parent should stay. I don't think I should just drop my child off. I would want my child to know that I'm just involved in your intellectual and your athletic growth as I am your intellectual growth. I think that if I know what plays you're supposed to run, and I show you that I've learned that and maybe you're doing it wrong and practicing at home, and then I interact with you, that gives you more confidence on the field.
Certainly
so
does.
I think parents really should stay, and I don't think they should be just drop their kids off and leave. I think they should be more involved.
That's an excellent point. We're going to move on to the next question. And basically, I'd like to just find out just what's the upside on this. I mean, what is my child going to get out of playing youth sports? And I'd like to stay with Dr. Keller and then come to you, Coach.
Well, what my children got from it was a sense of self-confidence. They were able to excel socially because they were able to fit in virtually anywhere. Laco has never met a stranger. Brian, on the other hand, never said very much, but he could always handle himself in any situation. It teaches our kids how to interact. It also teaches our kids a lot of about responsibility. It taught my children about being consistent about that. Brian is never late for work. He's always very punctual, very dedicated. So it was those formative years of playing sports, I know, that helped him get to that next level as a man, to where I have to be here and I have to be able to do this and get this done within a certain time frame. So I think it was very productive in that area.
Thank you very much. Coach?
Discipline. In my opinion, a child that's in sport, he's going to be a disciplined child if he comes through the right organization. And I say that, like I say, some coaches don't worry about a child's education. Myself, I teach a child to respect me as a coach, respect your teacher the same way you respect me. So he's going to be a disciplined person. So the thing I think that they gain out of it is discipline. And I like to use an example, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I'm going to use this kid because you may have heard him, Terrence Broadway. I coached Terrence Broadway, and I know one thing about him as a young child. He played for me, and he loved football so much that he was so competitive in the sport that he would go to school, and I remember his teacher calling me on the phone. She said, "Could you talk to Terrence? He wants to be the first one finished with everything he does. He takes a test. He wants to be the first one finished." So in the right environment, like she said, when a parent is involved, because Terrence's mother was very involved in him, and then, me as a male figure in his life, he was very disciplined. So I think discipline is something that they gain from it.
That's great. And the young man you mentioned, I just want to let you know he finished at the top of his class in high school and is an excellent college student also. Yes. We're running out of time. Dr. Keller, Chuck, thank you so much for joining us today. And that's all the time that we have in Keeping It 100. Please join us for our next segment. And thank you again.